It is 1994, North Korea. A dirt road cuts between barbed wire fences somewhere inside Camp 22, and Anyong Chol sits behind the wheel of a prison transport vehicle with an AK-47 across his lap and a decision already made. He is not supposed to be here. His shift ended an hour ago. Nobody authorized this run. Nobody approved this vehicle. And in a country where unauthorized movement is its own death sentence, the fact that he started the engine at all tells you everything about what he's already lost. He drives to a holding block. He stops. He opens the door and tells two men to climb in. These men have never been outside these walls. They were brought here as toddlers. They grew up in this camp. They've eaten whatever scraps the state decided they deserved. They've watched people die for sport. And right now, a North Korean prison guard, a man trained to see them as subhuman, is telling them they can leave. He risked everything to free two men who chose the cage instead. To understand what Anyong Chol becomes, you have to understand what he was built to be. It is 1987. He is 18 years old and living in a country where your entire future is decided by a document called your songbun, a hereditary loyalty score assigned to your family by the state, tracking how reliably your bloodline has worshipped the Kim dynasty across generations. Bad songbun means coal mines. Good songbun means opportunity. Excellent songbun means something rarer still. It means they choose you. Out of his entire district, one person is selected for prison guard training. That person is Anyong Chol. This is not a burden. In 1987 North Korea, this is the equivalent of being handed a golden ticket, proof that your family has passed every test the regime has ever devised. He enters the military and reports to Station 11. The indoctrination begins that same afternoon and does not stop for months. The message is mechanically consistent. The prisoners are not people. They are enemies of Kim Il-sung. They are traitors who have forfeited their humanity. If they run, shoot. If they resist, kill. If they die quietly, that was always the plan. Anyong Chol absorbs all of this without friction because why would he question it? He has been chosen. He is on the correct side of the fence. He is issued an AK-47, 2 pistols, and a uniform that grants him power over life and death. More total power, he will later reflect with grim precision, than any slave owner in history, because at least slaveholders needed their slaves alive enough to work. Here, starvation is not a side effect. It is policy. It is the primary instrument of control. He is stationed at Camp 22, officially designated a total control zone. In North Korea's prison hierarchy, this classification carries one specific meaning: nobody leaves. Not through rehabilitation, not through good behavior, not through any mechanism except death. Camp 22 is a terminus, not a facility. For 8 years, this is his life. And for most of those 8 years, he doesn't lose sleep over it. The prisoners are faceless. They move through forced labor in columns. They dig. They carry. They collapse. He watches executions the way someone might watch traffic, present, but not really seeing. He participates in torture. He sees children starve methodically, deliberately as official policy. He does all of this because he has been told, repeatedly and convincingly, that these people deserve exactly what they're receiving. Then they make him a truck driver. His job is to transport prisoners between camps. Long drives on frozen roads, with bodies in the back and nothing but time filling the cab. And somewhere on one of those drives, Anyong Chol makes the catastrophic mistake of asking a prisoner a direct question. Why are you here? What did you do? The prisoner, a man in his mid-20s, stares back with an expression that Anyong Chol will describe decades later as pure confusion, not defiance, not hatred. Confusion. I don't know, he says. I was 2 years old when they brought me here. The prisoner's brother is in the same camp. Their parents are dead, executed, the entire family erased, and neither brother has ever been told what crimes started the chain. This is when Anyong Chol first hears the formal name for what he has been enforcing, the 3-generation rule, codified personally by Kim Il-sung. If one family member commits a political crime, speaks against rationing, questions a policy, writes something dangerous, 3 full generations are punished. Grandparents, parents, children. The innocent inherit the sentence. 2 brothers, now 24 and 26 years old, have spent their entire conscious lives in Camp 22 for something their grandfather may have said in a conversation they were never present for before they could walk. Anyong Chol drives back to the camp in silence, and the machinery he has served for 8 years begins, slowly and irreversibly, to look like something else entirely. Then his father dies. It is 1994. Anyong Chol is on leave, visiting home when the news arrives. His father has taken his own life. The reason, documented, bureaucratic, final, is that he questioned the regime's food rationing system. Not in a pamphlet, not in an organized protest, in conversation. A moment of doubt, spoken aloud. That is enough. Under the law of guilt by association, his mother and younger siblings are arrested within days and sent to the camps. The very camps Anyong Chol has been guarding for nearly a decade. He is the eldest son. In North Korea, that title carries legal weight. He will be held responsible for his father's words. He knows what awaits him on the other side of the fence because he built that side of the fence. There is a guard assigned specifically to watch Anyong Chol now, to surveil him, to make sure he accepts his fate without running. This is standard procedure. When someone is about to be consumed by the system sends a minder to make sure they walk calmly into its mouth. Anyong Chol cannot run with someone watching him, so he does something that is either brilliant or insane, and in his situation the distinction barely matters. He writes a letter in his own blood, a pledge of absolute loyalty to Kim Jong-il, written in the only medium they might actually believe. Words are cheap in North Korea. Blood is persuasive. The surveillance stops. The minder is reassigned. The regime, satisfied, looks away for long enough. He could leave that night. He has access to a truck. He knows the roads. He could swim the Tumen River, the narrow strip of freezing water separating North Korea from China, and be across before dawn. He could disappear and never look back. Instead, he thinks about the 2 brothers, the ones who have spent 20+ years in Camp 22 for a grandfather's comment they never heard, the ones who have never seen a grocery store, never made a personal decision, never experienced a single day outside the wire. He decides he will not leave without them. One night after his shift formally ends, Anyong Chol arms himself fully, AK-47, multiple pistols, enough firepower to fight his way out if it comes to that, and climbs into a prison transport truck. He drives to the block where the brothers are held. He opens the door. He tells them to get in. He tells them they're leaving. He tells them they're going to be free. The brothers get in the truck. For a few miles, it works. The engine runs. The dark road is empty. The fence is behind them. And Anyong Chol allows himself, briefly, the thought that this might actually work. Then the truck slows. Somewhere along the route. At exactly what point he has never been able to say, the brothers make a decision. They climb out. They turn around. They walk back toward the camp. Not because they were caught. Not because guards appeared. They walk back because the camp is the only world they have ever known. And freedom, real freedom, cold and unstructured and terrifying, is more frightening to them than the wire they grew up behind. Anyong Chol watches them go. He has written a letter in his own blood. He has stolen a truck. He has armed himself for a firefight. He has risked a death sentence to open a door for 2 men, and the door was real, and the path was clear, and they chose the darkness anyway. Put yourself inside that cab for one moment. You have gambled everything. The 2 people you came back for just walked into the night. You are alone, armed, in a stolen vehicle, in the most surveilled country on earth. He drives to the Tumen River, abandons the truck, leaves every weapon behind, the AK-47, the pistols, all of it, takes nothing, and swims. The Tumen River at night in 1994 is not a romantic crossing. The water is glacial. The current pulls hard. The far bank is China, which sounds like safety until you learn what happens next. Within minutes of Anyong Chol reaching the other side, Camp 22 mobilizes. 150 armed guards flood across the border into Yangjin, China. Not a search party, a manhunt. North Korean military, operating openly on Chinese soil, coordinating in real time with Chinese security forces to recover one escaped prison guard before he can speak to anyone. 150 men for one person. That number tells you exactly how dangerous Anyong Chol is to the regime, not because of what he took, but because of what he knows. He spends his first night of freedom running. No time to notice that China looks different. No time to process anything. Just movement and darkness and the sound of people actively hunting him across an international border. He is extracted eventually, with quiet assistance from the South Korean government, the specific details of which he has never disclosed and almost certainly never will. He reaches Seoul. He is alive. He is free. Freedom, it turns out, comes with its own particular horror. In Seoul, Anyong Chol learns that a man named Chol-hwan, a former prisoner who spent 10 years inside the camps, now lives in the same city. They eventually meet. And Anyong Chol is terrified, not of government agents, not of assassins, not of the North Korean security services who would gladly erase him from the planet. He is terrified of Chol-hwan because Chol-hwan was a prisoner and Anyong Chol was a guard, and somewhere in those years inside the wire, their paths may have crossed in ways that only one of them remembers clearly. The guard fears the prisoner. In South Korea, in freedom. He watches South Koreans on television openly criticize their president. They call politicians corrupt. They demand resignations. They shout it into cameras. Even years after defecting, Anyong Chol cannot make himself do this. The training is that deep. The wiring does not simply reverse because the geography changes, but something does shift, slowly, incompletely. He founds an organization called NK Watch. He begins documenting survivor testimonies. He submits more than 700 formal petitions to the United Nations Human Rights Office. 700 documented accounts of what happens inside the camps he once staffed. And his most unlikely partner in this work is Chol-hwan. The prisoner and the guard, the victim and the instrument of victimization. Together, sending USB drives loaded with outside information deep into North Korea, knowledge the regime has always classified as its most dangerous enemy. The two brothers were never found. Camp 22 was reportedly closed sometime around 2012, its prisoners relocated, its infrastructure dismantled. Though North Korea has never confirmed this, and analysts studying satellite imagery continue to disagree about what the site now contains. Anyong Chol has never said publicly whether he thinks about that truck ride, whether he replays the moment the brothers stepped out into the dark and turned back. Whether he believes he failed them, or whether he has come to understand that some doors can only be walked through by the person who is ready to walk through them. He hasn't said. And that silence, from a man who has submitted 700 petitions, testified before international bodies, and built an organization from nothing, is the loudest thing about him.